So, good afternoon to dear learners of MA first semester of July 2025 session. I am Mr. Sudhanshu Shekhar Panda, Assistant Professor in History. So, today we talk about the PHI 104, that is the principle and methods in archaeology. And your topic, so far as the unit 1 is concerned, that is the introduction to archaeology. So in this unit we have we have detailed discuss about the definition of archaeology, the aim of archaeology, what is the scope of archaeology, how archaeology evolved as a discipline, what is the modern scientific techniques of archaeology, then especially the foundation of ASI, etc. So today I will talk about the introduction to archaeology. The PPT will be shared, I think. Yeah, PPT will be already shared. Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah. So the basic principles and methods in archaeology. Master parts in history, semester first, topic introduction to archaeology. So far as the definition is concerned, what is archaeology? A scientific study of human history. Archaeology is a systematic study of past human life and culture through the recovery and analysis of material remains such as artifacts, structures, biofacts. So far as the scope is concerned, it covers all the time periods and geographical regions from early human ancestors to modern times across both prehistoric and the historical context. So the archaeology, you know about it is the scientific study of human history and culture through material remains such as tools, such as pottery, structures, inscriptions, biofacts, etc. Besides that, it also investigates the past ways of life by examining the physical evidence left behind by ancient societies. So, the ancient societies, study about the physical evidences. For example, we talk about the Indus Valley civilization, their culture, the town planning, the religion, etc. You know about the prehistoric period, the Paleolithic period, the Mesolithic period, Neolithic period, and so on. So it is a branch of anthropology in many countries, but in India, it is often treated as the part of history. So the term archaeology, what do you mean by the term archaeology? The term archaeology comes from the Greek words archaeos, that is the ancient, and logos, that is the study. It means the study of antiquity. Now the archaeological research uses systematic methods such as survey, excavation, recording, classification, dating, inscription, etc. So there are several methods that are used in archaeology. Now, besides that, it helps to reconstruct economic, social, political, cultural, as well as it also focus on the past human societies, how societies became evolved, how what are their culture, what are their foods, what are their daily needs. So it covers all the themes. Besides that, it helps to reconstruct both as a scientific techniques used for like carbon dating, GIS mapping. These are the scientific techniques that are used in archaeology, and humanistic approach like the historical interpretation. The main aim of the study. What is the main aim is to study? It is to study the material culture, objects made, used, or modified by humans. Archaeologists classify the ancient remains into artifacts. That is artifacts, you know about the artifacts, that is the portable objects or any type of archaeological object is called artifacts. Then the features, that is the non-portable, and ecofacts, the natural remains. The natural remains reflecting human activity. For example, if you go to Mohenjo-daro or Harappa, you excavated the site, many sites are excavated. There are several botanical remains, there are several remains, environmental related to environment. These are the ecofacts. Now, archaeology provides evidence for periods before written records. The most important role is that it provides the evidence for periods before written records. It's known as prehistory. It also supports historical reconstruction for proto-historic and historical periods. Now it supports the study of ancient technology. The ancient technology, settlement patterns, trade, religion, it provides the evidence for the periods that before the written records, that is the prehistory. It divided into three phases like the history, prehistory, and then proto-history. So archaeology plays a most crucial role, provides the evidence for periods before written records, that is known as the prehistory, and also supports historical reconstruction for prehistoric and historical periods. Besides that, it supports the study of ancient technology, settlement patterns, trade, religion, art, architecture, environment, etc. And it also contributes to understanding the human evolution, migration patterns, and cultural development over the time. Besides that, it also preserves the heritage by documenting and conserving sites. By with the help of documentation, with the help of conservation of sites, it played a more significant role to study about the monuments, to study about our heritage sites. For example, Taj Mahal, Lal Killa, in Odisha, Konark, many heritage sites. It plays a more significant role for the documenting and conserving the sites and landscapes of historical significance. So this is all about your introduction to archaeology. Now in next slide, the importance of archaeology. Why studying the past matters? Why we talk about what is the importance of archaeology? Why we talk about the past? Why we talk about the past societies? How civilization played a crucial role? For example, you talk about the Indus Valley civilization, you talk about the Vedic civilization, in world context, Egypt civilization, Mesopotamia civilization, there are many civilizations. So what is the importance of archaeology? Why studying the past matters? First, number one, reconstructing the human history. Archaeology helps us to understand how human societies evolved socially, economically, politically, and culturally long before the written records existed. Now, now historical records it filling the gaps in Western sources. For example, historical records are often incomplete or biased. If you talk about the colonial period, there are many Western historians. Some historical records are biased. So archaeological evidence in that particular period, archaeological evidence provide independent and objective data that fills missing gaps and corrects inaccuracy. Now the third point is the importance, the understanding human origin and evolution. Through fossils, tools, habitation sites, archaeology provides essential evidence about the human, the evolution and migration of patterns, then adaptation of environment, how societies were attached with the ancient civilizations, then the evolution of human beings, the migration patterns, how the past societies became, what are the tool technology, especially so far as the Indus Valley civilization is concerned, so far as the Harappan civilization is concerned, then the prehistoric civilizations are concerned. So it also talk about the human origins and evolution. Now, it also played a crucial role for the cultural development. It helps track how cultures changed over time, development of agriculture, invention of tools, rise of cities, formation of states, etc. Now, it also focuses the daily life of ordinary people. Daily life of ordinary people means if you talk about the, for example, if you talk about the Indus Valley civilization, what are their staple foods, what are their trade networks, how one particular food is imported or exported through trade activities. So there are daily life of ordinary people. There are some written texts are not available, but in spite of that, archaeology in that particular area, archaeology played a crucial role. For example, if you visit the Rakhigarhi site, or if you visit the Lothal site, which is a major important site in Indus Valley civilization, then you found there are many type of in excavation report of Archaeological Survey of India, there are many types of food samples or the rice, the paddies that are found. So, it written text wherever it is often describe rulers and elites, but archaeology reveals the everyday life of common people through house, through their potteries, through their food remains, through their artifacts, etc. Now, learning from the past success and failures. It is the most important point of importance of archaeology. What is the learning from the past success and failures? Archaeology shows how civilization rose and decline. You know that rise and fall is a law of history. Rise and fall is the law of history. So archaeology shows how civilization rose and declined. Once upon a time, it became raised and raised and raised, but with the due course of, for example, if you talk about the Mauryan civilization, with the accession of Chandragupta Maurya, with the time of Ashoka, the Mauryan civilization was it reached to its highest zenith. But after the Ashoka, after the weak successors, the Mauryan political power, the Mauryan Empire became declined. So rise and fall is the law of history. So due to climate change, several weak successors, environmental mismanagement, warfare, economic collapse, offering lessons from modern societies. Now, another importance of archaeology is that it understanding the trade and connectivity. If you are digging a archaeological site or a particular site, then there are some metal remains. If you found some coins, then beads, ceramics, it shows the ancient trade networks, cultural exchange, global connections long before the modern globalization. If we talk about the Indus Valley civilization, there are several sites like Lothal. There is a dockyard. There is a dockyard we found. So it reveals the trade relations between the Afghanistan, Iraq region, and many other countries. So there is also a trade networks. The trade networks also reveal there are some import-export activities. The most important material, for example, lapis lazuli, a blue color diamond type of stone that is export from Afghanistan to Indus Valley, that is Harappa region. So we also know about their trade networks, their culture, and it also, for example, coins. If you talk about the coins, that is we call the numismatics. The study of coins is called numismatics. So the coins bears and played more significant role for the economic development. For example, if you talk about any empire, the coins, for example, it is made up of bronze. Some coins are made up of gold. Some coins are made up of silver coins. Though, so it shows the economical development of that particular period. Now, the another importance of archaeology is the protecting cultural heritage. How it protect the cultural heritage? Archaeology plays a crucial role for identifying the conserving and the protecting heritage, monuments, inscriptions, and landscapes from destruction and illegal activities. There are many sites. There are many archaeological sites, especially in India, and that are that yet to be identifying, that yet to be conserving, and that yet to be protected. But however, by the act of NMI, or you can say by the act of ASI, the Archaeological Survey of India, the head office, which is situated in New Delhi, they tried their best to conserving the heritage sites, to protect the heritage sites. Now, they also protect the inscriptions. For example, there are many Ashokan inscriptions found in all over India. So, inscriptions with a due course of time, some of the inscriptions are damaged. But however, with the help of ASI, with the help of NMI or government organizations, these inscriptions are protecting. Now, the landscapes from destruction and illegal activities. So, in this way, archaeology played most crucial role to save the cultural heritage. Now, the strengthening our cultural identity. There is another importance of archaeology, that is the strengthen of our cultural identity. The knowledge of the past gives communities a sense of identity, belonging, and continuity, helping preserve traditions and social values. So, it also plays a crucial role for cultural identity. Now, the enhancing scientific knowledge. You know about, if you study archaeology, the scientific study of past. We already told about the definition of archaeology. It is the scientific study of past. So, modern archaeology in today's era, the use of drones, the use of AI, the use of modern scientific techniques, like carbon dating, DNA analysis, satellite imagery, geology, chemistry, which contribute to interdisciplinary research. These are the fields that archaeology related with also physics, related with chemistry, related with biology, related with physical sciences, related with environmental sciences. So there are many relationships between the archaeology and other disciplines. So in this way, the scientific techniques in today played a most crucial role for reveal our past societies. So these are the importance of archaeology. Now, beginnings of archaeology in Europe. When you talk about archaeology, when you talk about beginnings from Renaissance to scholarly pursuit, that in Europe especially, go back to the Renaissance period. Renaissance, during that period, the Renaissance revived the interest in ancient Greek and Roman civilization. This curiosity encouraged Europeans to explore the physical remains of the past. It marked the earliest stage of archaeological thinking. Now, the antiquarianism. So, antiquarianism, the term antiquarianism, it emerged as elites collected ancient objects. So, dear learners, during Renaissance period in Europe, there are many elites that try to collect the ancient objects like potteries, like coins, like any artifacts, like some ancient objects. For example, the potteries, the art and iconographic some iconographic images. So their focus was on describing relics rather than interpreting them scientifically. Yet they laid the foundation during that period. It laid the foundation of for later archaeological inquiry. So now antiquarians documented coins. They what type of documented? They documented coins, inscriptions, pottery, sculptures. Their catalogs became valuable reference materials for scholars. This helped create the systematic approach to studying the artifacts. Now there are some private collections. Private collections expands across the empire. Collectors preserved material from excavations. For example, in Europe, if there is an excavation, then some materials were found. They collect the materials, they collect their coins. If coins, they collected treasure materials from excavations, trade and travel. These collections later formed the course of major museum. So together, these type of collections were settled in a museum. Now the cabinet of curiosity became popular among the education class. They displayed real, natural, and man-made objects together. These early displays shaped the evolution of museology. You know about the museology study of the museums. Now, the Underkamen. The Underkamen reflected a mix of art. There is a term Underkamen, reflected a mix of art, science, and antiquity. They encouraged public fascination with the material past, such as early prototypes of modern excavation and culture. Now, in 1738, we go back to the period of 1738, which has excavations at Hornakulam, the most important archaeological site, Hornakulam, which was excavated in 1738. It revealed the well-preserved Roman buildings. The Roman buildings are well preserved. Frescoes, inscriptions, it demonstrated the potential of controlled digging. Now, another excavation in 1748, that is in the Pompeii. Another excavation in Pompeii, which started in 1748 under the royal patronage. Systematic uncovering of the city provided extraordinary archaeological data, and this project influenced European archaeological methods. So there are some European archaeological methods in 1748 when the Pompeii site was excavated. Now, early excavations during that period shows the treasure hunting. Scholars, there are many people, they tried to invest their interest in treasure hunting, emphasized documentation over collection. They tried to document their heritage sites. They tried to document their coins. They tried to document their inscriptions. So in that particular era, this shifted reflected a more disciplined approach to studying the past. Now, in that period, that is from Renaissance period, recording techniques were introduced. During that period, recording techniques also introduced during excavations. For example, notes, sketches, maps and drawings of particular archaeological site, context. So these efforts improved the accuracy of archaeological interpretation. So in next, the age of enlightenment or systematic archaeology. So now we talk about the 19th century discoveries. What in 19th century discoveries? If we talk about the 19th century discoveries in Indian archaeology, in world archaeology, what are the type of discoveries? First, the 19th century marked a shift from antiquarianism collecting to scientific archaeology. In 19th century, the scientific archaeology played a crucial role. Scholars adopted systematic excavation. Systematic excavation means there are various types of excavation, grid excavation. So they adopted systematic excavation and documentation of monuments, documentation of artifacts, documentation of heritage sites. This period laid the foundation of modern archaeological methods. In Egypt, if we go back out the Egypt, we know about the glorious civilization, the ancient Egypt, which are situated in the Nile River Valley, which is called the Nile River Valley civilization. In Egypt, the decipherment of hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphs, you know, the decipherment of hieroglyphs in 1822 by Champollion. It created a revolutionary period in the history of archaeology. It unlocked the thousands of inscriptions and texts. The discovery transformed understanding of ancient Egyptian civilization. Now, back to Egypt, excavations in Babylonia, especially in the Mesopotamia region, revealed grand places and libraries. There are many libraries found under beneath of Mesopotamia, especially belong to the Babylonian civilization. The discovery of the Assur-Banipal library. There is a library, it's called Assur-Banipal, was specially significant. It provide rich records of early Near Eastern history and literature. Now, in 1870, there is another excavation which played a crucial role for the archaeology. Henrik Skellman's work at Troy, the excavation at Troy in 1870, attracted the global attention. He proved that epic traditions had historical basis. His findings sparked further archaeological exploration around the Aegean. Now, uh, uh, another excavation in Maya civilization. Recently, the Maya civilization is explored. Artifacts like gold mask, transfer knowledge of Bronze Age Greece. These discoveries connected the Homeric legends with the archaeological evidence. So we see that how archaeology related with the history, how archaeology is played a crucial role to act as a most important sources for the studying our past. Next, the Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone led breaking the deciphering the ancient scripts. It allowed comparative linguistic study across cultures. This extended the historical understanding beyond the Europe. Now we talk about the India. In India, we talk about the 19th century. You know about the Harappan civilization. You know about the Indus Valley civilization, the great civilization, the flourished civilization of ancient Indian history. In India, the Asiatic Society of Bengal encouraged the scientific study of history. In that particular period, we talk about the 19th century, the Asiatic Society of Bengal encouraged the scientific study of archaeology. Scholars like William Jones, you hear the name William Jones, James Prinsep, which called the father of Indian epigraphy. So in later we talk about the epigraphy, the study of inscriptions. So James Prinsep leading the roles, they established the foundations of archaeological research in the subcontinent. So James Prinsep, we talk about the James Prinsep, we deciphered the Brahmi script in 1837. This breakthrough allowed scholars to read Ashokan inscriptions. You know about Ashoka, the one of the great emperor of Mauryan dynasty. So there are several inscriptions of Ashoka. James Prinsep was deciphered. It dramatically expanded the knowledge of India's early historical period, especially if we talk about the Mauryan period, post-Mauryan period, Gupta period, post-Gupta period, Harshavardhana period. So there are many type of inscriptions were deciphered during that period. Now, the Alexander Cunningham. If we talk about the of ASI, there is an institution, Archaeological Survey of India, the ASI. So we later talk about the ASI. So you first know who is Alexander Cunningham. Alexander Cunningham is the founder of Archaeological Survey of India that we call the ASI in 1861. He conducted the systematic surveys, documented ancient societies. His work laid the institutional base of Indian archaeology. Now Cunningham identified the ancient city of Sanchi. You know about Sanchi, which is in Madhya Pradesh, and it revived the interest of Buddhist heritage, one of the most important Buddhist heritage which was situated in MP, Madhya Pradesh. So he restored and documented stupas and monasteries across India. He tried his best to restore the documentation of Buddhist monasteries in India. His efforts safeguard major Buddhist monuments from neglect. There are many Buddhist sites which was discovered, which was excavated during the period of Cunningham. So if we talk about the 19th century. So explorations in northwest frontier uncovered the Gandhara sites. You know the Gandhara culture in Indian history. The Greek influenced sculptures revealed Indo-Hellenistic artistic traditions. The discovery of highlighted India's ancient cultural interactions. Now, another Buddhist sites, that is excavations, also revealed in Bodh Gaya, Nalanda, which enrich the knowledge of Buddhist history. Archaeologists documented temples, stupas, monastic remains. These paintings helped to reconstruct the India's early religious traditions or India's ancient Indian history. Now the rock cut caves, Ajanta and Ellora. You know about the Ajanta and Ellora, the rock cut caves, which was documented by the British officers. Their paintings, their sculptures draw the global scholarly interest. This work helped to preserve our endangered heritage through the detailed recordings. So in 19th century, if we analyze both in the world context, both in the Indian context, archaeology is a scientific discipline. New discoveries was found, surveys was conducted. There are many decipherment of inscriptions, expanded the historical horizons. This century created the methodological and the institutional framework of modern archaeology. So we already talked about the 19th century discoveries, the Troy, the Rosetta Stone in 1799, so how it played a most significant role to study about the history of Egyptology. So it discussed. Next, the development of scientific methods. So we know about, if we know about the archaeology, how scientific plays a most significant role, what are the scientific methods that are used in archaeological excavation, that are used in the archaeological exploration, the dating processes. So the stratigraphy. Stratigraphy, what is stratigraphy? Stratigraphy is the study of layer deposits found at archaeological sites. Layer by simply its study of the soil layers. It helps understand how materials accumulate over time in distinct layers. Each layer represents a different particular phase of human activity or natural formation. This makes stratigraphy essential for reconstructing the chronological sequence. Now, what is the principle? The principle of superposition is the foundation of stratigraphy. It states that undisturbed deposits, the bottom layers are older than the upper ones. The bottom layers are the older than the upper ones. Archaeologists use the rule determine the relative age of the artifacts. It helps establish a vertical timeline of in particular archaeological site. Now comes to the radiocarbon dating. It's introduced in 1940s, which revolutionized the chronological accuracy for organic remains. So radiocarbon dating. To know about the particular date of an object, to particular date of an identify the particular date of an artifact, object, or any biofacts. So radiocarbon dating plays a more significant role to determine the particular age of an artifact or object. Now there are some lab techniques, use of geometry, geochemistry, DNA analysis. You know, we already talked about the relationship between biology and archaeology. So use of geometry, DNA analysis, isotopic studies, it expanded the range of archaeological data. Now this is, you saw the PPT, this is the how to collect samples to get the best radiocarbon dates. First you know the bone and teeth, how to collect the samples from bone and teeth, collected good cortical bone fragments from large bones of the body, since these bones fragments preserve well. Large bones include femur, tibia, upper arm bone, skull plate, jaw. So by examining that particular remains, to with the help of radiocarbon dating, with the help of paleobotanic dating, you know the exact date of an artifact. For example, there are two institutions like first of all the BSIP, the Birbal Sahani Institute of Paleobotany, BSIP, which was situated in Lucknow still today. The particularly the biofacts which are found or which are found from an archaeological sites. So that samples are give to BSIP. Then they tried their best to knew or to find out the particular age of an object. So how to collect the samples from charcoal, how to connect the samples from wood. So these are the some observations. So this in slide you can see the stratigraphy analyzing soils layers in archaeology. If you down from the more ancient, then the more recent. Okay, if you found the heart, the pottery, stone idol, skull, stone wall, bones, this picture is also shows about the methods of stratigraphy analyzing the soil layers in archaeological site. So 20th century and the modern archaeology. If we talk about the 20th century and modern archaeology, besides that, there is also another point we have left, I think, that is the colonial archaeology. In 19th century, the colonial archaeology. What are the important archaeology? Like if we talk about the 20th century modern archaeology, archaeology moved beyond Europe to encompass global heritage sites across Asia, Africa, America, and especially in India. Still, the role of ASI is played more significant role for the documentation of preservation site, for the documentation of heritage sites, and that there are theoretical diversifications like school like the processual and post-processual archaeology introduced debates on methods, theory, and bias. There are some technological innovations in 20th century. The role of GIS, remote sensing, digital modeling transformed the data analysis for the site documentation. Now you talk about the colonial archaeology. Colonial archaeology during the British period, since 17th century, or you can say the 18th century or early up to 19th century. So colonial archaeology, what are their motivations? British administrators used archaeology to legitimize their colonial rule and study India's civilized past. They wanted to know the India's what are the their civilizations, what are the chief features of ancient Indian societies, they wanted to know. There are institutional foundations in 1861 by Alexander Cunningham, you already talked about that, which marked the formal state-sponsored research. There are selective interpretation focus on classical ruins like Mauryan period. So they ignored vernacular and tribal histories. During that period, the British historians, the British archaeologists, they ignored the vernacular and tribal histories and also the people's histories. Now, if we talk about the colonial era archaeology, James Prinsep, this is the Sun Temple of Modhera, how Archaeological Survey of India, you said that pictures, how ASI, the Archaeological Survey of India, tried his best to protecting this Sun Temple of Modhera by the scientific techniques. This is the Manjarabad fort, which is in Karnataka. This fort is also protected by heritage management and with the joint collaboration of ASI. Now the James Prinsep decipherment. Comes to the James Prinsep decipherment. So who is James Prinsep? You can see the Brahmi script. If you saw the PPT, Ko, Kho, Go, Gho, No, Cho, Cho. So in this, the alphabetical order, Ko, Kho, Go, Gho, No, Ko, Cho, Jo, Jo. So these are the Brahmi script. This is the basic Brahmi script of Ashokan Brahmi script. So the James Prinsep and the decipherment, unlocking the voices of ancient India, goes back to in 1837. James Prinsep was a British antiquarian and a scholar associated with the Asiatic Society of Bengal. We already talked about the Asiatic Society of Bengal. He played a foundational role in the study of ancient Indian epigraphy. His work laid the groundwork for the scientific archaeological research in India. Now, Prinsep focused extensively on studying the inscriptions, coins, scripts. He meticulously collected the stampages and rubbings sent by the revenue officers and scholars. The systematic data collection enabled to compare across the region. He was the first scholar who deciphered the Ashokan Brahmi script. Before Prinsep, the Brahmi script was completely undeciphered. Its symbols were mysterious. Scholars lacked a structural approach to read them. Prinsep became the first scholar to unlock the Brahmi script after decades of failed attempts by the other scholars. So he studied the bilingual coins, inscriptions to identify the symbols. He compared Greek Brahmi bilingual coins from Indo-Greek rulers. The coins of that particular dynasty, especially the Mauryan dynasty, the comparison helped him to match the phonetic values with the Brahmi characters. Now the key breakthrough came from studying the Girnar and Delhi Topra Asokan inscriptions. The most two important Asokan inscriptions, that is in Girnar, rock art inscription of Asoka in Girnar, Delhi Topra Asokan inscriptions. Prinsep noticed repeat patterns like Devanamo Piyadasi. If you read the inscription, if you visit that particular site of Girnar rock edit of Asoka, or in major most of the rock art sites, especially the inscriptions of Asoka, if you visit that particular site, there is a term Devanama Piyadasi, which is recognizing this royal epithet was crucial into the decoding the language. By identifying the repeated phrase, Prinsep established the phonetic basis of Brahmi. The discovery of Brahmi allowed him to map individual letters to specific sounds. It marked the beginning of systematic epigraphic decipherment in India. So, James Prinsep was the first scholar to decipherment the Brahmi script. Now, the decipherment proved that inscriptions were issued by Emperor Asoka. This revelation reshaped Indian history by confirming Asoka's historical existence. For example, if we talk about the Kalinga War, the so-called Kalinga War, the devastating war, the brutal war in the history of India, in the history of world, that after the war, how Asoka changed from Chanda Soko to Dharma Soko. This is one of the major incident in the history of India. So this revelation reshaped Indian history by confirming Asoka's historical existence. It also connected the archaeological evidence with the literary sources, especially on Mauryan Empire. So Prinsep work shifted archaeology in India from curiosity to scholarship. Colonial administration began to see inscriptions as historical records, not mere objects. This helped in forming the discipline of epigraphy within Indian archaeology. Epigraphy, study of inscriptions. Study of inscriptions is called epigraphy. It's another branch of history. So he collaborated, also worked with the different scholars like Alexander Cunningham, especially with scholars like Alexander Cunningham. Later, there are many archaeologists. Their combined efforts led to the comprehensive surveys of different archaeological sites, different antiquities. This eventually contributed to the establishment of Archaeological Survey of India. So, in this way, James Prinsep deciphered the Brahmi script. Now, this photo is James Prinsep. You can see James Prinsep. This is the Asokan pillar Brahmi script. You can see the Asokan pillar Brahmi script. This photo is James Prinsep. Now, come to the main important theme, that is the Alexander Cunningham, the Director General, the founder of Archaeological Survey of India. How ASI is an institution, played a crucial role for documenting the sites, for saving our archaeological heritage, to systematically document the Indian antiquities. What are their roles? We can detail discuss today. So, Alexander Cunningham and ASI, the Archaeological Survey of India. Alexander Cunningham regarded as the father of Indian archaeology. He began his work in India as a military engineer. In his early period, he was a military engineer, but soon shifted his interest to ancient ruins, inscriptions. He shows his interest to find out the inscriptions. He shows his interest especially to document the Indian antiquities, documented the Indian heritage sites. So he began his work in India. His passion for documenting India's historical site laid the foundation of scientific and archaeological in the subcontinent. He emphasized that India's past must be studied through material evidence, not just text. He tried his best to study the inscriptions, to study as an archaeological source. He gave importance archaeology as a source of history. Before that, there is only literature source to study about the history. But after Alexander Cunningham, when he established the ASI in 1861 in India, he emphasized that India's past must be studied through material evidence, not just literature or any historical text. So Cunningham was deeply influenced by James Prinsep's work, that is the decipherment of Brahmi. With the access of deciphered inscriptions, he could identify ancient sites mentioned in epigraphic records. This enabled him to verify historical geography with physical remains. His surveys combined textual study with archaeological fieldwork. He carried out extensive surveys across North India. For initial period, he carried out number of excavations, number of explorations in northern India, especially in the Delhi region. He visited ancient sites, ancient cities, sites like stupas, temples, river valleys to record their condition, to record their present condition, to record the artifacts, to record the monuments. He traveled many cities across the northern India. He carefully documented architectural features, inscriptions, coins, and sculptures. His travel notebooks became important as an early source of archaeological data. Now, Cunningham played a more significant role identifying the ancient Buddhist sites. Previously, there was no archaeological evidence of, before Cunningham, there was no archaeological evidence of Buddhist sites. There also is literary texts are available. Literary sources are available. Before Cunningham, there was no archaeological reports or archaeological sources to study about the Buddhist sites. Using the accounts of Chinese traveler, you know, Huensang, the most famous Chinese traveler, he used the accounts of Chinese traveler Huensang. He traced the locations of monasteries, pilgrimage centers. He confirmed sites such as Saranatha, Sanchi, Kushinagar. His method linked archaeology with historical text for accurate identification. During his period, the excavations were systematic, though not fully modern, but in spite of that, he insisted on recording the layers by using the method of stratigraphy, structures, artifactual context. He avoided treasure hunting approaches common during the early colonial period. For example, in early colonial period, there was no systematic archaeological excavation, but during the period of Alexander Cunningham, who was the founder of Archaeological Survey of India, in that period, the systematically archaeological excavation was going on. Now, his methods marked the beginning of scientific excavations in India. He emphasized the protection of monuments. He tried in his entire career, Alexander Cunningham played most crucial role to emphasize the protection of monuments. He noticed that many ancient sites like Takshashila, Nalanda, many other sites became damaged or misused by the people. In that particular period, I will talk about the 19th century. He argued the government intervention to safeguard India's heritage. He was the first as a Director General of Archaeological Survey of India, tried his best to intervention to safeguard India's heritage. Had advocacy influenced later in conservation policies. In 1861, the establishment of ASI, the Archaeological Survey of India, was finally established. He was appointed as the first Director General, and the ASI became the official government body in archaeological research even today. And its creation marked a milestone institutionalizing the archaeology in India. Under his leadership, the ASI focused on systematic field surveys. There are teams, many people were joined, many historians were joined, many British archaeologists were joined together. They searched the documents, they searched the Buddhist ancient sites, they searched the stupas, they searched the river valleys to document the protecting the heritage sites. They recorded the monuments, collecting antiquities, identified the ancient trading routes. Besides that, the ASI started maintaining detailed archives. Archives is most important. Why? To preserve the documents, to preserve the historical sources, to preserve the ancient text. So Cunningham introduced proper documentation and cataloging procedures. He tried to build some archives, site plans and drawings were preserved for future study. These archives later became the foundational resource for Indian archaeology and Indian history. So the groundbreaking discovery during that period, during the period of Alexander Cunningham, the exploration of Indus Valley civilization, when we call the Harappan civilization, the sites, there are the important sites, Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Rakhigarhi, Ropa, Lothal, there are many sites. Explored the Indus region before the Harappan discovery. Before the Harappan discovery, he explored the Indus region. He came across seals but could not fully recognize the significance of civilization. However, he recorded these artifacts with accuracy. His work indirectly laid the groundwork for the later discovery of Indus Valley civilization. Later discovery, you know about the Indus Valley civilization. Their town planning, their drainage system, their trade networks, their houses, their daily life of people. So the foundations of ASI paved the way for the later research in history and archaeological field. Now come to the next slide. Sir Alexander Cunningham, we already talked about it. He is the Director General. You see the picture of a Director General Alexander Cunningham, Sir Alexander Cunningham. Besides that, there is another important point. He published the Ancient Geography of India in 1871. It is the first collection of edicts of 3rd century BC, that is Indian Emperor Ashoka, the great emperor of Mauryan dynasty Ashoka. He also wrote the Stupa of Bharut in 1879. There is a ASI publication, Archaeological Survey of India publication in New Delhi. The book was published, the Stupa of Bharut, in 1879. He conducted systematic excavations in Saranath, Sanchi, Takshashila. He used the inscriptions, coins, and historical texts to identify ancient Indian cities and validate historical records. Now come to the point, John Marshall. John Marshall, another archaeologist, another famous archaeologist, another Director General after when Cunningham retired in 1901. Then in 1902 up to 1928, John Marshall, the British archaeologist, the British historian, he was the second Director General of Archaeological Survey of India in 1902 to 1928. So during his period, what is the contribution of John Marshall? During his period, the systematic, scientific and well-documented excavation methods. There was a systematic, scientific and well-documented excavation methods during the period of John Marshall. His reforms modernized the Indian archaeology, most scientific, based on more scientific techniques. He emphasized proper excavation techniques with careful recording. He did not like, even if he discouraged treasure hunting approaches, dominate early practice. I think that in that particular period, with the help of scientific techniques, they were all very, very lucky. They were all very, very fortunate to become the part of archaeological excavation. The people tried their interest to taking part of archaeological excavation. There are many such type of schools, such type of training institutions was set up during the period of John Marshall. And that type of institutions, they played more significant role to teach the students how to excavate the site, how to exploring the site, what are the methods of excavation. So many such type of scholars, they try to participate in excavation or exploration during the period of John Marshall. So his greatest contribution was the discovery of Indus Valley civilization, the Harappa civilization. During that civilization, he was the Director General. The excavation at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, you know about the name, remember the name, Rakhaldas R.D. Banerjee, Dayaram Sahani, the two important figures of Indian archaeology. They exposed unknown Bronze Age civilization. They explored the Bronze Age culture of ancient India. The discovery expanded the world history by revealing advanced civilization in India. If you talk about the Indus Valley civilization, it is the first important urbanization in India. So far as that time is concerned, and the most advanced features is town planning, the drainage system, the trade networks. There is a big civilization, the discovery of big civilization in that particular period. It was the greatest achievement in the field of archaeology during the period of George Marshall. In 1921, if you talk about the story of civilization, the Indus Valley civilization, Dayaram Sahani excavated Harappa under Marshall leadership. Marshall recognized the significance of findings, promoted deeper study. The result confirmed that the existence of an early urban civilization. That is what we call the Saraswati River Valley civilization, or we call the Indus Valley civilization, or we call the Harappa civilization. In 1922, that is the after 1921, the very next year, in 1922, the R.D. Banerjee, another archaeologist, R.D. Banerjee, Rakhal Das Banerjee was the most important archaeologist, historian. He also wrote about some history on Mauryan Empire, history on Sanchi, history of Odisha. He was the most important historian during that period. So in 1920, he discovered major remains at Mohenjo-daro. Mohenjo-daro, you hear about that name, Mohenjo-daro, the city of mound. And Marshall immediately identified its importance and encouraged the large-scale excavation, not a type of small-scale excavation, large-scale excavation. Many type of archaeological sites is found. The discoveries revolutionized the global understanding in ancient India. So officially announced in 1924, Indus Valley civilization officially announced that Marshall officially announced that Indus Valley civilization came to light in 1924. There was a report of ASI. If you search the ASI report, the archaeological, if you go through the website of Archaeological Survey of India, there is a report of ASI in 1924. His publication, illustrated in London News, gained worldwide attention. This announcement placed India among the world's earliest civilization. Under him, the ASI adopted multidisciplinary approaches, like scientists from different branches like anthropology, botany, chemistry, architecture, epigraphy, every subjects, they were involved in particular excavation. It is not about only history. Archaeology related with natural sciences, environmental sciences, physical sciences, life science, chemistry, botany, physics, etc. So this raised the academic quality of archaeological research. So Marshall introduced conservation methods for ancient structures. During his period, he prioritized the protection of heritage sites like Sanchi, Sarnath, and Tokeshila. These efforts preserved India's great heritage for the future generations. Now the Indian scholars in colonial era, we talk about the R.D. Banerjee, we talk about the Dayaram Sahani, their roles, their roles in archaeological findings. Now in academic, in 20th century, archaeology evolved as a academic discipline in many universities, like Banaras Hindu University. If you go through the BHU, there is also a PhD course, there is a Master of Arts course in archaeology. There are many institutions like Banaras Hindu University, then University of Patna, then some IIT are also now today bears launched the course of archaeology as a major discipline. So in 20th century, if you talk about archaeology, evolved as a scientific discipline. Now the post-independence archaeology. After 1947, the post-independence archaeology. A post-independence archaeology, what type of sites, been excavations, what are the important explorations after 1947. So there are many points of the major role of ASI to uncover the past of India during conducting various excavations, various explorations. So the post-independence archaeology in India, there are major discoveries, groundbreaking discoveries discoveries. After scientific discipline was recognized to include excavation, epigraphy, conservation wings, new universities opened, especially archaeology departments. If you talk about Odisha, the S.R. Rao, yes, there is also a bead factory found in Lothal. This sword, it reveals the maritime trade and craft specialization. It also reveals there was a trade relationship between the many countries like Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Greece, Macedonia. There are various trade relations and craft specializations. B.B. Lal, another archaeologist, Brajabasi Lal, B.B. Lal, conducted excavations at Hastinapura. You know about Hastinapura? There is a source, literary source, Mahabharata. They talk about the Rama Janmabhoomi Ayodhya. So he conducted excavations. There are the grid system of excavations which was in heavy with the epic traditions. He connected the archaeology with literary sources. He connected the archaeology with epics. He connected the archaeology with Mahabharata. He connected the archaeology with Ramayana. So he tried his best in his entire career. He tried his best to strengthen the scientific knowledge to study by studying the ancient past. He also worked on the painted graveware culture. There is a culture, PGW culture. Later, we study about the potteries. The potteries, we study about the potteries, the PGW culture. Then another archaeologist, Mortimer Wheeler, trained a generation of Indian archaeology. He grid system of excavation. During that period, dear learners, the grid system of excavation was introduced by the Mortimer Wheeler. And stratigraphic methods improved field techniques. He brought international standards to excavations. Then the post-independence excavations expanded beyond north, especially in South India. Arikamedu, there is an important site in South India. Arikamedu, there is another important site of India. South India revealed Indo-Roman trade. There is also revealed the Roman and Indian Indo-Roman trade. This highlighted the ancient global networks between the Roman and India. Chalcolithic sites were excavated by BHU, that is the Banaras Hindu University, with the collaboration of ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, such as Nabdotoli, Inamgaon. These two sites were explored, especially they revealed the agriculture, the settlement patterns, the daily life of people, the burial practices, the most important, the burial practices. What type of burial practices was there? The megalithic structures. So the discovery of Mehergarh, if you talk about the Mehergarh culture, in Indus Valley civilization, the Mehergarh culture, which are still in Pakistan, extended the roots of Indian civilization. It pushed agriculture and village life back to the 7000 BCE. India's prehistoric timeline became much older. With the excavation timeline became much 1000 BCE. Now another the rock art studies. The rock art studies in Madhya Pradesh. If you visit the Bhimatka, the major rock art site in India, UNESCO World Heritage Sites. These paintings, specially, there are several types of paintings in that rock art site of, specially, if you talk about the Bhimbetka. So starting from the prehistoric period, early period, Mesolithic period, Neolithic period, so various types of paintings was there. There are depiction of animals, bulls, hunting boars, pigs, some beautiful flower patterns are there. If you visit the if you visit the Bhimbetka cave, you found there are many beautiful paintings. So it is the UNESCO World Heritage Sites today. Besides that, the excavation of Kalibangan, which is the pre-Harappan fire altars, it showed the religious and cultural diversity in the Indus region. Now, 21st century, especially recent excavation at Rakhigadi, which gives the biological data, the scientific tools, connect archaeology with genetics. Rakhigadi became the largest Harappan site in India. Till today, Rakhigadi is the largest Harappan site in India. Now, in this picture, you see the Dwaraka. The mention of Dwaraka, if you see the PPT, there is a picture of Dwaraka, Sri Krishna's Nagari. Sri Krishna's Nagari Dwaraka. We have found the source from Mahabharata, the literature source like Mahabharata and other Puranas. You have heard the name Dwaraka. So there is a archaeological exploration by a the underwater in Gujarat Archaeological Survey of India. This is the beautiful story how Dwaraka became excavated. The underwater excavation said Dwaraka began of India to try his best for the systematic marine archaeological investigation. His work aimed to trace the submerged remains associated with the ancient city described in literature. This is the joint exploration by the Archaeological Survey of India and the NIO. Remember the name NIO, the National Institute of Oceanography. The Archaeological Survey of India provided scientific direction and institutional support. So, what are the findings? What are the findings of Dwaraka excavation? There are artifacts such as anchors. There are some beautiful potteries. Then stone blocks, massive stone blocks. There are big size of massive stone blocks. The head of lion, the beautiful pillars decorated with Nortaki. Some Nortakis were there in beautiful pose. So there are many type of artifacts we have found in Dwaraka excavation, and the detailed report was submitted to the government by ASI after that excavation. The project marked a milestone in the development of Indian marine archaeology. There are several parts of archaeology, like for example, prehistoric archaeology, specially based on prehistory, marine archaeology, environmental archaeology. So there are various wings of archaeology. So this particular wing, the underwater archaeology, is rich in progress, and it involved the establishment of underwater archaeology as a formal discipline area today in India. So recent and ongoing excavations in 2005. There is a recent excavation in 2005 in Dwaraka, 2025 February in Dwaraka, and our Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji, he visited that particular site and underwater prayers at that particular site. He renewed a push began in February 2025. There was a recent and ongoing expeditions in Dwaraka. So this is all about your archaeology. So techniques and archaeology. You have seen the PPT technique of archaeology. There is an instrument. It's called ground penetrating radar (GPR). What is the role of that instrument? It uncovers the artifacts. It uncovers the soil layers. It uncovers the artifacts beneath the soil. There are certain technology like the remote sensing, the LIDAR technology, drone photography. There are various technology. 3D technology was there. Dating methods like TL dating, radiocarbon dating. Later we'll talk about details about the dating methods, remote sensing, how GIS tools played a significant role in archaeology, what is digital scanning, what is the method of analysis, what is the method of visualization. So in later classes we have discussed it. So this is the ground penetrating radar. Now, what is the challenges in archaeology? Development versus the preservation. Urban expansion and infrastructure projects threaten the archaeological landscapes. Looting and illicit trade. There was a massive looting, global black markets, fuel of theft with cultural property, especially in conflict zones. Then climate and environment. Climate and environment played a most crucial role for rising the sea levels, for desertification, for deforestation, which damaged the ancient sites. So there are some modern challenges of archaeology in today. Okay, so now comes to the PPT, public archaeology and education. Heritage tourism, engaging citizens. There are many type of jobs after graduation. You pursued MA, higher studies in archaeology. There are many type of jobs in museums, that is museum curator, then heritage manager. So heritage tourism, engage citizens with the past. Heritage tourism, museums, heritage works, the festivals make archaeology accessible and economically relevant. Educational outreach, what are the educational outreach? What are the educational promotions? There are some school programs, online platforms which promote the archaeology, which promote the study of history. There is also the community involvement. Local residents participate in preservation, storytelling, and enriching the narratives. So this is all about your archaeology. Before conclude that, we also talk about the aims of archaeology. What is the aims of archaeology? Yeah, I think I will upload the PPT. Yeah. So what is the aims of archaeology? There are certain aims of archaeology for reconstructing the human past. For example, the primary aim of archaeology is to reconstruct the cultural, social, and economic as well as political of past human societies through the study of material remains. Second, what is the aim of archaeology? Understanding the cultural evolution. Archaeology aims to trace the evolution of human culture from the prehistoric period to the historic times, identify the patterns of change, development, and continuity. Then preservation of material heritage. It aims to preserve the ancient sites like Takeshila, Nalanda, especially if you talk about the Odisha, then the Ratnagiri, the Konarka Sun Temple, the beautiful heritage sites, for example, your Khandagiri, your Udayagiri. So these type of sites, preservation is most important. So identifying patterns of change, development, and continuity. Now interpreting human environment interaction. Archaeology seeks to understand how past societies interacted with their natural environment, which adapted the ecological changes, shaped the landscapes. So it also providing the chronological framework. If we talk about the prehistory, if we talk about the Paleolithic period, Mesolithic period, so on, then there is a lack of literatures. There is a lack of literature data. So there is no written records. If we talk about the prehistory, then there is no lack of records, that is written records, or you can say the documents. So in that particular period, archaeology helps by conducting the excavation, by conducting the explorations. We have found several types of remains. We have found the several types of materials like coins, inscriptions, etc. So it preserves the material heritage. It also providing the chronological framework in Indian history. It supports the historical roots. Archaeology supplements, confirms, corrects the information in historical text, inscriptions, and oral traditions. Last, it also promoting the cultural identity, awareness, and what are the objectives? So far as the objectives of archaeology is concerned, systematic survey and exploration, to conduct plant field surveys, exploration, then identification of local archaeological site, scientific excavation, documentation on recording. This. Now the documentation and recording. It also classifies the analysis of finds. It also classifies or categorize the archaeological materials. For example, pottery, stone tools, then some type of inscription, some types of stone beads. So it classified the findings like tools, ornaments, potteries, bones, botanical remains. Besides, next is the dating and chronological building. To apply the scientific dating techniques like the radiocarbon dating, the TL dating, we call the thermoluminescence dating, the dendrochronology dating. So it also construct the chronological order in sequences. Now the conservation and site management. It also played a crucial role to protect the site, to conserve the site, excavate the site, monuments, artifacts for the study of future generations. Now, there are some special training schools. If you visit New Delhi today, there is a institute called the Institute of Archaeology by under the Archaeological Survey of India. There is a PG diploma in archaeology. There are several institutions who offer the PG diploma in archaeology. So to impart the scientific training to students, scholars, heritage professionals in archaeological methods, to promote the public awareness, to engage the communities in museums, educational institutions for heritage awareness and tourism. So these are the some important aims and objectives of archaeology. Why we study about the archaeology? So in conclusion, dear learners, today archaeology plays a vital role in uncovering and interpreting the long and complex journey of human civilization by studying metal remains, by studying the ecophates, by studying the artifacts, tools, pottery, structures. It reconstructs the socio-cultural, economical, and technological advancement of our past societies. Archaeology not only fills the gaps left by written resources, but also provides a scientific framework for understanding the past, understanding our past societies. Through the systematic exploration, through the excavation, through the documentation, preservation, it safeguards our heritage and culture. So that's it all about your introduction to archaeology. I hope, dear learners, you have a fundamental knowledge about the archaeology. In next class, we will talk about the relationship of archaeology with another branches like the history, anthropology, food science, physics, culture, cultural history, then your life science. So what are the connections? What are the important methods? Then we talk about the exploration techniques, excavation techniques and archaeology. What type of excavations were there? What type of exploration techniques were there? What is the role of ASI? So in next class, we will talk about them. So that's it all about. Thank you very much, dear learners, for joining them. Thank you.